Elon Musk just confirmed major Tesla news. Investors celebrate. There's also a price increase, and there's major news coming from China for Tesla. And there's a major attack against Tesla and Elon from a multi-billionaire. So this episode is pretty important. Pay attention. Let's start with the big news. Tesla FSD V12 is running in Europe, specifically Germany, and Tesla is giving demos to regulators. And the regulator says impressive, smooth, and natural driving. Elon Musk confirmed this news by saying we believe version 12 is ready for supervised FSD in left-hand drive countries. Right-hand drive will take a bit longer. This is really good news because this is the first time we have seen an official use FSD on European roads. And he's impressed with it, meaning it is probably going to move forward, and FSD take rate in Europe is going to go up. And if that goes up, Tesla's earnings go up. And if that goes up, Tesla's stock goes up. If you like where this is going, click the like button. Now, we know that the regulators in Europe are extremely strict, and the way the regulations are set up right now is before the car does anything, it has to ask for permission. Can I dodge this crash? Press allow, too late. But with the regulator being impressed, that could be changing. And he was taking a 30-mile journey along the streets of Munich, so that's a pretty long ride. And you can see from the regulator having posted these pictures that FSD did not exactly go through the easiest parts of the city. Now, I'm sure Tesla tested this route many times, but it doesn't seem completely easy. Now, we know that Tesla has been testing FSD in some capacity in Europe since at least 2021, and that testing could be paying off now with the official being impressed. It also doesn't hurt that he is an official from Sweden, and we know that Tesla had some issues in Sweden late last year with the union strikes and everything. So people having a better opinion of Tesla from Sweden, that works in Tesla's favor as well. Anyway, I would expect Tesla to probably do more demos in the future, and maybe Tesla already has done more. It just this one is the only we know about as of right now. So we're having a good news day today for Tesla, so naturally you would expect some bad news after that, right? Wrong. We have a price increase for the vehicle that Tesla has just released. It only has been 3 days since Tesla started accepting Model 3 performance orders in the US, and the price has now increased by $1,000. But Tesla has also lowered the price of the white interior and the black exterior paint option, both by $500. So if you wanted that exact combination, you won't be paying more, but overall, it is definitely a price increase. The Model 3 is in a tricky situation because the performance one qualifies for the $7,500 EV tax credit, but the long range one doesn't. So the cheaper long range model is actually more expensive for most people as long as you get the credit. But if you do want to lease the long range model, you still get the $7,500 EV tax credit, but not if you buy it or finance it. So Jameson from Electric is speculating that maybe that's why Tesla increased the price of the Model 3 Performance, but they knew about all of that before releasing the price initially. So yeah, I think there are two possible explanations. Number one, there is higher demand and therefore Tesla is increasing the price. That's very likely. Number two, that was Tesla's strategy from the beginning. Hey, look, we're going to put this car out at a lower price than what we think we should charge, and then we're going to increase the price, creating this scarcity mindset. But if that was the case, I think Tesla would have increased the price one day after, probably, because you get the largest number of orders in the very beginning and then they die down. So I'm leaning towards this being somewhat bullish. Now, if more people start lining up for this vehicle, I would expect Tesla to increase the price up to $55,000. So another $1,000 from here could be added to the total price. I wouldn't expect Tesla to increase the price beyond that because then Tesla would just lose the $7,500 tax credit. But then if you add anything extra, you won't be qualifying for the tax credit, right? If Tesla increases the price further. So I'm not sure how likely the additional increase is. And of course, because Tesla would be getting better margins for the Model 3 Performance, that's going to be the trend that Tesla is going to prioritize going forward, because Tesla is still production limited, specifically with the Model 3 in the US. And this is a bit of good news given the Model 3 Performance was just launched. There will be significantly higher demand for this trim. This suggests a better sales mix for Q2 versus Q1, which will be gross margin positive. There's some huge news coming out from China. Tesla China has launched its enhanced Autopilot monthly subscription. So it's not exactly FSD, but it's getting there. The price though is 700 RMB. So in China, you get enhanced Autopilot, which is not FSD, for the same price that Americans get FSD. I definitely expect changes, especially keeping in mind that the Chinese consumer does not have as much money as the American consumer. And Autopilot is probably not as good in China. Now, Tesla Chan says there is also a slight difference in feature support depending on the hardware. And I would certainly expect FSD to be coming out soon as well in China. They might call it something slightly different just to make sure that if something does go wrong, the publicity is not going to be as bad over there. Or maybe they will just call it full self-driving supervised. I'm not sure. And someone is guessing maybe it's exactly the same as FSD, but they just changed the name. I don't think so. Here's what you get with it. I'm going to translate it. Okay, so it does say automatic assisted navigation driving, automatic assisted lane change, summon, smart summon, and automatic parking. So in theory, that's basically everything my car does on FSD. It's just that maybe Tesla is using extra careful language about what they call this software, specifically in China. Oh, and actually the pricing does make more sense now, because if you get it for 3 months, you only pay $66 a month. Okay, that's fair, especially if it's basically FSD. So I'm gonna try to find out if enhanced Autopilot in China is actually the same thing as FSD in the US. Right now, I'm not seeing anyone say anything. The only issue with China specifically is that China does not allow Tesla to store Chinese data overseas. So Tesla would have to basically build another team for China unless you take FSD from North America and you put that in a Chinese vehicle. Maybe that will work, but people over there do drive a bit differently. I'm speaking from experience. I have been there. But if you are a really good driver in the US, like a really good driver, you will do okay in China too. So maybe it's okay. You just need to know a few quirks and laws and stuff like that. It will be really interesting what people think about FSD or enhanced Autopilot in China. In the meantime, Omar continues with another day of not driving. And Gary did a poll. What do you expect the FSD take rate at $99 per month will be among the 1.8 million trial subscriptions when the free 30-day trial period ends next week? Most people seem to think it's going to be between 10 to 20%. I definitely don't expect more than 20% of the people to take it. That's because I showed FSD to a few people. I took them on rides with me, and the moment FSD did something uncomfortable, they became not interested immediately. Overall, they were impressed, but they were like, meh, it's gonna be just easier if I drive myself. But they did tell me, let me know when I don't really need to pay much attention, and then I will consider. I think any technology enthusiast will definitely subscribe. People that have long drives through not insanely difficult conditions, I think a lot of these people will seriously consider it. If you live in the San Francisco area, you're gonna have a much better experience on it, so a lot of these people are more likely to subscribe. But it only takes 1 or 2 really uncomfortable situations with FSD for you not to want to subscribe. And in 30 days, you will probably have at least a few of these. And if I had passengers with me all the time, I would be less likely to subscribe for one reason. When you disengage, it does make quite a sound. I mean, it's not a scary sound, but it's like, oh, what's going on? And it is usually done when something is happening. Something weird is happening on the road, so it makes people uncomfortable. But if I could disengage and somehow maybe only the steering wheel vibrated, so I would know clearly that it's disengaged, but it wouldn't make a sound so that other people can hear around me, then I would be much more likely to subscribe. Now, in my specific case, I don't need to think about subscribing or not subscribing because I just purchased it outright earlier. But just having used the software myself, I don't think, I mean, I would be surprised if more than 20% of the people subscribed, but as it gets better fast, Yeah, I think that number certainly could be bumped to 25% and maybe even 30%, and then eventually above 30%. I think that is going to happen eventually. Now, someone says take rate was 22% before the trial period, and when FSD was $199 a month, 400,000 out of 1.8 million vehicles. Expect a doubling at the very least. But this factors in a lot of people like me who have already purchased FSD outright. Maybe the final number could be somewhere in the high teens. Also, we know that not everyone has V12 yet. Yes, even today, not everyone still has it. And if people are getting V11, yeah, I don't think many of them will subscribe. In Gary's opinion, the take rate is going to be closer to 10%, since on the call, Elon Musk said only half of those who were offered the free FSD trial were using it. FSD V12 progress has been amazing, but until it gets to 99.99% efficacy, less than one intervention per 10,000 trips, I don't see massive adoption at $99 a month. FSD may help sell more Teslas though. So if about 20% of the people that actually tried the trial end up subscribing, you end up with a 10% take rate considering the whole fleet. But the good thing is people are still taking advantage of the trial, and Tesla is seeing more people trying it each week. Whoa, look at all of these Cybertrucks. That's a lot of inventory right now over there. It's about $37 million worth of Cybertrucks. If Tesla can maintain this Cybertruck production rate through the rest of the quarter without dropping the mandatory Foundation Series upgrade price, this will greatly help Tesla's Q2 earnings. Troy has quite a different opinion than most people about what Tesla is going to be releasing soon. Some Tesla fans think Elon said Tesla will release the affordable car, also known as a compact car, the Model 2 or the $25,000 car in early 2025, but that's not actually what he said. Troy thinks he said they will use the existing production lines to release new models, including more affordable ones that use aspects of the next generation platform. From what I understand, the compact has been postponed until 2028. Instead, Tesla will likely release a Model 3 hatchback in 2025, which will be produced at Giga Texas and Giga Berlin. These two factories each have an annual excess capacity of 250,000 units. I think this new model will feature dual casting, a structural 4680 battery pack, a 46.8 volt electrical system, and steer-by-wire technology, and should cost about $2,000 less than the current Model 3. Considering all of the batteries and everything, this new model should be below $30,000 in the US. Gary says, think of the new product as a Tesla Model 2.5, a more affordable $30,000 to $32,000 compact car or hatchback. That's smaller than Model 3, which starts at $38,900 and doesn't qualify for the EV tax credit. Could reaccelerate Tesla's growth, especially if it can qualify for even half of that tax credit, and it can be used as a flanker product around the world to compete on price, which might protect Model 3 and Model Y from further price cuts. Yeah, so Troy thinks Tesla is going to release a Model 3 hatchback, and likely this is what it's going to look like. Giga Texas and Giga Berlin are designed to produce this model. I think that's the new model Tesla is talking about, and he expects that Tesla will try to reach 2.7 million units per year in 2027. With its current factories, the current Model 3 doesn't use any castings. It uses a lot of stamped parts welded together. Giga Texas and Giga Berlin don't have the machinery to produce the current Model 3, but they can produce a Model 3 with dual casting. Model 3 Highland was supposed to have dual casting and a structural pack with 4680 cells, but they canceled those changes because 4680 cell production was too low. James actually thinks this does make sense, and Europeans definitely like these hatchbacks. Personally, I have a Model 3. I might like this one a little bit better. I don't quite like an SUV, but this is a bit more practical. A few times I needed to put something in the trunk and the item was just a bit too big, and if the trunk was just a bit higher, it would have been fine. Now, Troy thinks that the compact car will probably be delayed until 2028, but I'm not so sure about that.
We've updated our future vehicle lineup to accelerate the launch of new models ahead of previously mentioned start of production in the second half of 2025. So we expect it to be more like the early 2025, if not late this year. And we think this should allow us to get to over 3 million vehicles of capacity when realized to the full extent.
So Elon specifically referenced the previous timeline, which is the second half of 2025, and previously that was specifically the next generation vehicle. So it would be a little bit weird for him to reference that specifically, but then not have a vehicle that doesn't look quite different from the current lineup. But to a certain extent, a Model 3 hatchback certainly could, I mean, if they call it something different, if they don't call it a Model 3, but something else, yeah, I think that could be in line perhaps with what Elon is saying. But he referenced the previous timeline and he's saying it's now accelerated. So I think Troy has some good points, but I don't think Troy is definitely 100% going to be right about this one. I think there's enough room for debate here. Tesla's 4680 cell production is accelerating. However, I'm not so sure if Tesla would have enough capacity for a new, let's say, Model 3 wagon. But Troy thinks Tesla is likely to stop using the dry battery electrode process, which could boost 4680 cell production in Giga Texas. Meanwhile, Giga Berlin will produce its own 4680 cells. Oh yeah, Tesla does need to keep moving forward. Look at this one. Xiaomi booth was crowded at the Beijing Auto Show. It's totally packed. Look at all of this. I think Troy is not wrong to say that it would be wishful thinking to hope that this doesn't hurt Model 3 sales in China. The vehicle is already being delivered to customers. The weekly numbers below show 1,600 Model 3s versus 2,500 Xiaomi SG7 deliveries in China between April 8th to 14th. Keep in mind that China's deliveries are always low in the beginning of the quarter, and this SG7 vehicle is still very new and often the hype dies down quickly, so we'll see soon. But it is something that we want to keep an eye on. For those of you who don't have FSD V12, this is very typical normal behavior from my experience, so this is nothing special. You can replicate this and it works very well. So the car is pulling out and then FSD stops for this vehicle to go first. Very human-like. The vehicle has done things similar to this many times, and it's in situations like this, so far to me personally has been very comfortable. And here's an outsider, someone who's not into Tesla, talking about FSD. I test drove a Tesla with full self-driving for the first time ever. Very unique experience, sort of felt like magic. Whoever successfully implements this kind of technology for all other automakers to use will build a gargantuan company. I know many are trying to do it, but it will be interesting to see who actually gets it done. It will be Tesla, of course. I encourage every person and car dealer out there to try out FSD if you haven't already. Multi-billionaire Dustin Moskovitz has called Tesla Enron and said that Elon Musk will go to jail. He's also one of the co-founders of Facebook. Forbes says that his net worth is almost $16 billion. So this is a pretty serious allegation. Let's see what he says. I have been eager to see the updated FSD graph in the investor deck. Tesla AI posted the fraudulent graph on the right on April 3rd, celebrating 1 billion miles. The free FSD trial started on March 25th, and incidentally just ends after we get to see the cumulative FSD update. How strange. The new graph is humorously ambiguous. Is March 2024 the first or the 31st? Why is the inflection after the 1 billion miles milestone in the new graph? And why does any of this matter? Well, everybody knows, of course, that cumulative FSD miles are equivalent to H100 GPUs, which means AI. Tesla booked $700 million in deferred revenue today because they released Autopilot to existing FSD subscribers. People that do use this hashtag, I often assume that at some point they shorted Tesla stock. I'm not sure about this guy though. And that's of course not always the case that if you use this hashtag, you're going to have shorted Tesla stock in the past, but the chances are higher. He continues, I know I sound crazy to most people who don't follow Tesla closely. Well, I follow Tesla closely and this sounds really crazy to me. But at this point, it really needs to be said. This is Enron now, folks. Enron faced massive charges, by the way. It may keep going, but people are going to jail at the end. The data is presented in fraudulent ways, and it doesn't say what they claim it says, even when they make it up. Tesla has committed to consumer fraud on a massive scale, from lying about FSD ranges and recently unconfirmed, even inflating odometers. Many times now, also securities fraud. Elon did see this and he replied with, yep, Dustin is the one who should go to jail for impersonating a smart person. Someone says he had puts and is big mad. Yeah, I mean, Tesla stock just went up big. Elon Musk agrees with that. Yeah, I mean, if you are shorting the stock and it's going up suddenly, oh yeah, you're gonna be quite upset. And if you are of questionable character, you will make up false accusations. So Elon Musk is counterpunching hard. You spend 44 billion just so you can post teabagging memes? 100%, replies Elon. Elon also responded to all of these accusations with, what a retard. And then Elon took a few minutes to think about it, and then he made this public apology. I would like to apologize to this guy for calling him a retard. That was wrong. What I meant to say is that he is a pompous idiot whose head is so far up his own butt that he's legally blind. I wish him the best and hope that someday we can be friends. Fred from Electric commented on this. I'm reminded of what my dad told me when I was a kid at school. There are positive leaders and negative leaders out there. Be a positive leader and surround yourself with them. I used to see Elon as one. Used to. So when a bully bullies you, you just do nothing. You're like, yeah, well, it's cool. It's fine. Yeah, you're accusing me of fraud. You're saying I should go to jail. Hey man, all good. Keep saying that. Steven also says, did your dad also teach you to never defend yourself and to never protect those you care about? Musk's posts are justified counter punches. These are counter punches. Elon is not going after someone out of nowhere just like this Dustin guy is doing. He's defending Tesla against outrageous false accusations of fraud from an actual moron. Can anyone point out a single instance where Elon insulted someone first? I can't. Yeah, has that happened? Steven says he only counter punches. I don't remember of any cases where Elon just went after someone before they did something to Elon. And by the way, when things are calm, smooth, okay, maybe this approach is not a terrible approach. But when someone declares war against you and tries to go after you, you don't want to just sit back and do nothing. No, you go after them as hard as you can. War has been declared. Elon is responding like a wartime CEO. For those that don't know the context between Fred and Elon, here's when bad sentiment started. Elon called Fred out, and Steven says there's no undo button for butthurt. That's it for today's video. Make sure to click the like button so that we can make sure that there's no shadow ban on this channel. Here's another video from my other channel showing that it's only getting about half of the views it would normally get because my videos are only shown to about 50% of the regular viewers in the first few days, and then after the first 3 days it does push it out a little bit more, but because it's no longer news, it's old, no one's interested. So I appreciate everyone clicking the like button. That really helps. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt Postius, and I will see you back in tomorrow's episode.